United States of America. By some, he's been called controversial. How can I convince you when your ears refuse to hear and turn your heart away from me each time that I've gone here? Your eyes refuse to meet with mine, they glance away in fear. Now, keep in mind that some of my guests have been approached by Homeland Security or FBI saying, why are you going to the Clay Douglas show? My message to those guys, if they're listening this morning, is go get a cup of coffee. Maybe you'll learn something. We both took the same vow, to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I don't recall there being an expiration date on that. Well, it doesn't show how I sing the same we said the same. Knowing that you're right, blinded by the light. He is the free American, Clay Douglas. Catch the Free American weekdays at 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern. Every time I think about the damage that's been done, the anger wells inside me till I'm almost overcome. I want to tear the moon down from the sky and drop the sun. Why you living so long? I got me. For the podcast and more details, visit www.freeamericans.com or catch the podcast by phone by calling 832-999-8621. All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Free American. I'm your host, I'm Clay Douglas. My guest today is Joshua Daniels, SeaLionsFoundation.com. And if you go to my website, you'll see also terraformers.neoviking.com, neoviking.com, freedomfleet.com, and omniarchs.com. How are you doing, Joshua?
Oh, I'm doing great, Clay. It's great to be here. How about you, man?
Well, it's great to have you here. I did a short show yesterday because I had a 9 o'clock appointment with the VA counselor there at Veterans Affairs, and got to do it from the 4th floor, which I've heard rumors is the psychiatric ward of the Veterans Administration. But I walked in and I walked out, and I only did about a 15-minute show because the gentleman that I was doing the interview with was not authorized to put any information out. So we just cut the show a little bit short.
You'd think they'd say that when you call to book the show. Like, yeah, I'm happy to do a show with you. I'm just not allowed to say anything.
Well, actually, I didn't book a show. I just walked into the Veterans and called from the waiting room in the Veterans office. So, no, he didn't know. It was a complete surprise to him. He just was a little nervous because, are we broadcasting now? And I said, yeah, worldwide. So,
okay, yeah, you were doing the roving reporter thing. I get it.
Yeah. So, at any rate, that all worked out all right, and I actually got in the mail yesterday. I got my Veterans ID.
So now you can start accessing all those wonderful veteran services, right?
Yeah, I got a whole book about all the veteran services I can access. I have no idea what that means. I have no idea what I'm getting. I'm actually applying. I'm applying for. I'm waiting for them to send me all of my medical records.
I'm applying for the benefits I was promised 50 years ago. It took me 50 years to even have the Veterans Administration acknowledge that I served and that I was a veteran. But I got the ID card now to prove it. So now whether or not I can go back and get 50 years of compensation for the spinal meningitis their vaccines gave me, and I had a sergeant that tried to didn't think I was sick and almost killed me. Actually, he did kill me. I did die in the hospital at Fort Polk, Louisiana. But I came back. Obviously.
Wow.
It was kind of strange.
Wow.
I had there was a guy in the room next to me screaming. I called the orderly and I said, can't you do something from this guy? It's kind of getting on my nerves here. He said, why? You're in worse shape than he is. You got the strength to scream? But again, 50 years and I'm finally justified. I got an ID card anyway, whatever good that does me.
I don't know. From what I hear about the VA, probably not much.
Well, it's probably pretty interesting. It would take more guys than I saw on the staff to hold me down to give me a vaccination. And they've tried that before. That didn't work.
Uh-huh.
Sorry, boys. If you try to hold me down, you know, I'm going to break both of your arms. I'm going to break both of your legs. And I'll just smash your kneecap, but you may never walk again. You, Chubby, I'm going to take your throat out. They decided they didn't want to dance in that particular point in time. That was over 10 years ago.
Man. Yeah, I tell you, those vaccines are just so evil. They really are. And I read the other day about a couple that they didn't want to get the Hep C vaccine, and their pediatrician threatened to take the baby away if they didn't. There's no law mandating it.
But they're trying to make it, states are making it so you can't have your kids in school unless you get them vaccinated. That's bullshit.
Well, you shouldn't have your kids in school anyway. The purpose of public education is to accustom your child to injustice.
Indoctrination.
So why in the world would you... Huh?
Indoctrination, not education, indoctrination. And
that's right.
By the way, folks, that's why I helped start Timothy Bible College and the Little Red Schoolhouse. You can get your college degree. You can get everything that you need from Timothy Bible College, and that's linked on my site. And if we all went to Timothy Bible College as opposed to going to school, we wouldn't have any Columbines, we wouldn't have any Sandy Hooks. And you know,
there's so many things you could say if we had a sane society. You know, we wouldn't have this or that and the other. I believe it's up on the Terraformers website on the Great Dying link. I've got a video up there explaining how civilization is dying. There is nothing that can be changed about that, and you shouldn't try to stop it. Because, well, for one thing, it'd be a waste of effort. But two, this civilization is insane. And I don't try to prove that on the video. I say, you know, if I try to prove it, you might argue with me. But think about this. We all have a list of things in our minds that a sane civilization would not do, that this one does. And we have a list of things that a sane civilization would do that this one doesn't do. So we already know that it's insane. I don't have to prove it to you. And if my list doesn't match your list, then we would argue.
Well,
so I'm not going to lay it out there.
I'd have to disagree with you on that.
Okay.
I don't think they're insane, and I'm always reminded of a conversation that the James Forrestal had with McCarthy, Joe McCarthy.
Okay.
Joe McCarthy said something about the communists being stupid, and Forrestal disagreed with him. He said if they were just stupid, occasionally, they'd make a mistake in our favor. So I don't believe they're insane. I believe they're perfectly sane, perfectly rational, and perfectly evil. They're doing what they're doing to us on purpose. They want us to be slaves, and if we're rebelling, as you and I are, we become targets. And nothing becomes easy then. You're denied this permit, you're denied this, you're denied that, you're not able to do this, you can't get a driver's license, you can't do this, you can't do that. That's all part of their method of control, and it's not that they're insane, it's that they're evil, in my opinion.
Well, my contention is that the desire to have a slave is proof of insanity. I mean, that's just that you would be so detached from humanity that you want someone else to spend their life making yours easy is insanity. I mean, that person is so mentally defective or emotionally defective, wherever it comes from, that they need to be isolated from everybody else for everyone else's safety, and they need treatment until they're cured. Or they just need killed. Because this planet ain't big enough for the both of us.
Well, I agree with that. I agree with that.
All right. It's a good, beautiful thing when friends agree. Oh,
I guess the question is, what do we do about it? Now, I love your answer, and I got to tell you, I've got my living arrangements pretty well solidified now here in Big Springs, and I'm staying in Big Springs for the foreseeable future, and I'm going to start work on the novels I started 45 years ago. I've just got to do a little bit of editing because I wrote about a future society, and I left out computers because when I wrote it, computers didn't exist. Everything else was actually right on. And you and what you are doing with this seafaring society that you envision, I think is a wonderful idea. And I mean, I've lived in Miami where we could go all over Florida just about by water. You could cut right across the state by water, and I'm thinking of Texas now, since I'm back into Texas after 45 years of voluntary exile and visiting 49 other states. I believe that we could take with probably less money than our interstate system of highways cost, and we could make these waterways and canals and the rivers and the Rio Grande and the Red River and everything else. We could connect those very easily.
Yep.
Very easily.
And equally easy, the personal vehicle that we should all be driving is a ground effect aircraft. They were invented at the same time as cars were, but cars were a more logical baby step to most people. And aircraft were not safe. Well, they weren't as safe as cars at the time. And but imagine an airplane that's got, say, a 60-foot wingspan, and it'll only go 30 feet off the ground. That's as high as it'll go. Right? So instead of paving highways, all we got to do is set up marker posts to show here's the eastbound lane of the expressway, here's the westbound lane, right? If you have mechanical difficulty, all you do is you slow down and fall out of the flow of traffic, and you land on it's probably going to be a wheat field underneath you, because there's no reason to set aside that land and not do anything with it. You're just flying over it. And then, part of your basic car insurance that you buy, or plane insurance, will compensate the farmer for whatever damage to his crop if you have to land, so there's no hard feelings about it. And you can do a ground effect airplane will do everything a car will do, and more, and it'll do it safer and at lower cost.
And
It
won't
gets better
that
gas mileage.
won't that go across water too, so you don't need bridges?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Anywhere you want to go. Even uphill, where you, the place where a Jeep might have an advantage might be on some of the really steep inclines that a Jeep can get up, where an airplane might have trouble, maybe. But a Jeep is a special purpose-built vehicle, so somebody would simply build a special purpose-built ground effect aircraft for that. Or just take a plane up the hill that's not ground effect, take a helicopter. Yeah, that's just one of the directions that civilization will develop when children are taught from an early age to make things, and when we're all very mobile. You know, if we all have life yachts like are described on all of our websites, good Lord, when a 14-year-old boy wants to visit a girl who's 60 miles away, he's going to have to build himself a plane or a boat or something to get there. And he'll be able to, with the tools and the education that are just basically part of your life when you're part of a manufacturing and growing society that solves problems. He'll go down into the workshop and he'll start building himself an airplane so he can visit his girlfriend. And that's the way it ought to be.
Now, we could, if you, one of the things that Leo Wanta, Ambassador Lee Wanta, who's Reagan's ambassador, he's been on my show a number of times. He has the money, if he could get it from the banks, he has the money to build a maglev train system across this country. A train that'll do 600 miles an hour. You could go coast to coast in a few hours. And that's what he wants to do to restore the economy with the money that he's getting from, supposed to be getting from the Federal Reserve that he was involved, I guess, with the takedown of the Soviet Union.
Yes,
but
I know about his story. The railroad will help, but as we saw when the gas prices here dropped recently, manufacturing and economic growth did not pick up when it became cheaper to ship stuff. All right, because in order to have an economy, you have to have a solid manufacturing sector, and the stuff that you make can't be the wealth that you create cannot be sucked away in such huge proportion by the government and wasted on wars and whatnot. The burden of government that we have right now is so huge. I remember when you had to earn a certain amount of money before it even showed up on the tax table. Now, if you earn $1, you get a paycheck for 92 cents. Because there is no level of low income at which they don't come and get a big piece of it. That burden cannot be borne. And if we put in this great maglev railroad, which I'm fully in favor of, as a matter of fact, I know how to make it just the most amazing transportation in the world. But if we put in this awesome maglev railroad, we still have to make our own goods to ship. There's a article up on rents.com with a map of the United States showing state by state what the most common occupation in that state is. And we have become a nation of truck drivers. The most common occupation in almost every state is truck driver, because all we're doing is bringing goods in from China and getting them to where they need to be. The containers go back to China empty. Or they just sit here, because in many cases it's cheaper to build a new container over there than it is to ship this one home. How do you like them apples?
Well, at least we can put the containers to work. You can put these containers together, and even independently, you bury them about 6 feet down in the ground here, and you've got a perfect shelter that's waterproof,
yes,
and pretty much tornado and hurricane proof.
That's quite true. There's on our website, there's a link to a company called Sun Direct Power Incorporated. That's our commercial division. All the profit that they make goes toward realizing the dream of a free people. And our Caribbean dealer has been talking with the Dominican Republic government about putting container homes down there that are completely solar powered, where we would manufacture, take a container and turn it into basically a big long mobile home, do everything inside, put all the systems in, and then when you get it there, you just open the door, put it where it needs to be, open the door, and connect a water supply, and you're ready to live in it. Put a family in there. Yeah.
All right, let me take a caller here. Actually, it's oops, nope. I guess he decided not to here, but
oh, now I'm curious. Call him back.
I can do that. I can do that here. Carl Swenssen is an activist, and I got him booked for tomorrow's show. But he has been going into the city councils and really taking them to the there we go. Got him back here. Hello, Carl. Say hi to Joshua Daniels. He's my guest today.
Joshua, how?
Okay, you broke up just a little bit there, Carl, but I got you up. Oops. Internet connection problem here. Okay, let's see if we can get that back.
Here we go.
Carl, is that you? Do I have you?
Now you got Joshua here.
There we go. Hang on.
Ah, ringing. Okay.
Hello.
Yes, sir. You called, and you're on the air with with me and Joshua Daniels.
Joshua, can you hear me this time?
Yes, sir. Hear you just fine.
Yeah. Clayton told me some wonderful things about what you do, and I'm very, very interested in the whole process. Can I ask you where it is you are doing this?
We have not established a base where we're building yet. I'm going in the last week of September over to the Philippines to meet with some people over there who want to provide us an island that's supposed to be just a couple. Well, they're not going to give it to us. There'll be a small cash rent, and what they want is for us to leave the electricity and fresh water systems that we'll set up behind when we're done with the island. All right, which is perfectly fair. That's an arrangement we've been seeking, and so that way their island, which they couldn't sell at any price because it has no fresh water or electricity, suddenly becomes worth a few $100,000. They like that. Right?
Yeah,
and
sure.
we know how to make and so in return we get our very own tropical island that's only a couple hours by boat from Manila, where we can get any materials that we may need or tools, anything like that. We can have people fly into the Manila airport and we can pick them up and bring them out to the island. It's a good situation all the way around. But if that falls through, we have other Philippine opportunities. We have literally dozens of marinas have gone bankrupt here in the U.S. that are on places like large rivers where there's open access to the sea. There's no lock or dam between you and the sea, so we can build and launch right there. Okay, or they're on the coastal waterway system or the inland waterway system. The eastern two-thirds of this, or eastern third of this nation is very, very well networked with water. So we could be building somewhere in Kentucky and launching, and they go all the way out to sea and go all the way around the world. And also we're
structure are you using?
Repeat.
Wide open question. A little narrow it down. What kind of structure? What for the vessels?
Okay, catamaran style, trimaran, barge style.
Currently catamaran, although we really like trimaran. because we can, if we build it in sections and we let the sections flex relative to one another, that's a great way to make electricity. However, it involves significant stress on the hull that we may not choose to go that way. All right. But the current configuration is catamaran. We have three sizes, as small as the smallest one is about 45 feet long, about 800 square feet of living space. Basically, it'll sleep for, and all of our life yachts, we call them life yachts. Okay, when a ship sinks, you take a lifeboat. When a civilization sinks, you take a life yacht. Okay, they all carry on board. They carry your car or truck in a garage on board. That's actually a loading bay, and they'll sail backwards up to a beach or a boat launch and open the back door and let down a ramp and launch your car or truck. Right. Then.
So you're talking about something with a fairly high freeboard and a little bit of draft.
Yeah, it's not much draft. The smallest one is 16 inches. Yeah, because these are not so much ships that you live in as they are floating homes. If you think ship, you really get the wrong picture because the rooms inside are square. They're rectangular. The boats themselves, the whole vessel, is shaped like a gigantic turtle, so that as the wind blows over it, it's instead of trying to tip it over, it actually presses it more firmly down flat into the water. So these things will sail through a hurricane. And we sent our designs to various naval architects, just sent some JPEGs of the sketches. You know, like you'd shop around a sketch of a house to different architects, and he would tell you what it would cost to have it built, right? So we called these architects up, and we've got three questions. One, this is after 8 years of research and design, because none of us on my research team had gone to college to be naval engineers. And that isn't what we wanted to do anyway. We were doing something that was only marginally related to ships, but they were involved. So we called up the naval architect, and we said, did we do this right? And they said, yeah, you did it all just fine. We said, okay, do we need to change anything? They said, no, this can be done exactly like you've worked it out. I said, great, what would it cost to have you do the blueprints? And they said, we can't do it, you need Raj. We got that answer 3 times in a row as we're calling down a list of naval architects. And finally said, okay, who's Raj and where do we reach it? Turns out he's an Indian guy, went to University of Michigan and runs Marine Engineers, Technology Associates down in New Orleans. He handles the very most difficult naval engineering tasks, like those gigantic oil field tender ships that won't move 3 feet off station even in a hurricane. He designs those. Right? So we called him up. He was happy to look at our designs, and the word that he used was genius. And he said, yeah, I can design these for you, but I really don't want to make them out of concrete. I want to make them out of plastic. And we said, that sounds really interesting. But he'll be the one who will be doing the blueprints for us when we've raised the funds to do that. He's not cheap. A set of blueprints from him is about $400,000. And we have 3 vessels for him. We have 3 vessels for him to do blueprints on. But we're moving ahead. I mean, to get everything completely started and up and running exactly the way we want it to be it's under $10 million, which is, to a baby boomer like me, that sounds like a lot of money. But I look at the amounts of money being thrown around by even the smallest nonprofits these days, and that's not a big check to get somebody to write. You just got to find the right guy to get them to write it. Or what we're doing.
Not a big deal, and it's very doable. Very
it's very doable. Yeah, and
what are you doing? What are you doing as far as energy generation?
As far as what?
Energy generation. Solar,
energy
gear type of buoyancy type of generators, magnetic motors. What do you use?
A couple different things. One, to move these things around, they're all equipped with wing sails, which will retract back into the hull. A wing sail is just, imagine an airplane wing standing on deck, and you just turn it to get the correct angle of attack on the wind, and it moves you forward. These are twice as powerful as regular sails. Okay. Then for electricity, we have a couple of different things. One, on both sides of the ship, there are docks where your friends could come and tie up their boats to come and visit you. The dock is covered with a steel grate, and underneath that steel grate is a well about 2 feet deep, 2 to 3 feet deep, and waves from the ocean wash over, fall through the grating into the well, and to get back into the ocean, they have to go out to a small microturbine and make electricity. Then another is a float on a lever from the front. These things will actually look like a trimaran, even if they're not trimarans. Just a float on a lever, and as the waves push the float up, and then gravity pulls it back down, that turns a generator and generates electricity. Right? So you store all this in batteries, and you're good to go for whatever you need electricity for. Right? They can be equipped with steam engines, although, frankly, the wing sails will get them with the wing sails are set up so that they're not down the middle of the ship. There's 2 rows, one down each side. So you don't have a gigantic wooden post sticking down in the middle of your living room. But also so that you can steer. Yeah, but so that you can steer without needing a rudder. Now, they'll have a rudder, but it'll be a piece of equipment you deploy when you're in harbor. Out on the open ocean, you don't need the drag, and you don't need it to steer. You just set the 2 rows of sails at different angles, all that from your control room using hydraulics, and you go wherever you want to go. But you can set it up with a steam motor.
It's that you have turned into a engineered or engineering hippie.
I had to do that. Yeah. That's right, and to finance
another investment.
That's right. The largest one has room on board for farm and garden, so that you can hydroponically grow food for 10 people. The garden and the area where the animals would live, like you should have sheep and goats and chickens at least. All right, that's separate, completely separate. What sort of environment to keep smells out? What am I thinking here? Climate control. Completely separate from your climate-controlled living area, so you're not breathing goat stink. And you can get all the minerals you need for your hydroponic solution from the ocean, and with a little bit of kitchen chemistry, you can make the most nutritious plant food. And actually have that's one of the processes that's been floated, but that requires a fairly high-tech filter, and we're trying to find the way to do it that doesn't require high-tech. I mean, we have a floating home that'll go anywhere in the world. There's 6 feet of water and a decent breeze that does not have an engine on it. It doesn't have a computer needed to run it. It'll back up to the beach and load and unload your car. It carries your shore boat in a shoreboat bay on board, like the shuttlecraft bay on the Enterprise on Star Trek. Right? We've managed to do all that without high tech. So we're going to find the right chemical reaction to make the plant food without reverse osmosis. But right now, that's the quickest and easiest. Yes. Right.
Have you looked into tower gardening?
What kind of gardening?
Tower gardening, column gardening.
Tower.
Getting vertical towers.
No, we haven't, although I'm sure someone will do it, because our garden area on that largest ship is, imagine a rectangular shaped room that's been cut in half at an angle, so it's a triangle shaped room. It's out on the side of the ship. You walk in the door, and to your left is a vertical wall. To your right is a sloped roof that starts at the upper left and goes down to the lower right. And that's as much as we can make of that glass will be glass. Right? So that's where you're going to put your plants in your hydroponic garden. Then you go up to the front of the ship, and there's one much larger that's intended for plants and animals, but you'll arrange it however you find best. And there's a stairway in each of these up to the roof of the ship, the top deck, which is set up with a flat area with a lip around it so that you can actually put dirt in there and plant grass and put a swing set up there for the kids, or you can let the animals up there to get sunshine, or all the above, okay? But with this triangle cross-section room, that vertical wall is 10 feet tall. So there's room in there to do column gardening. When we designed it, we envisioned hydroponics in trays, and so you'd have 5 or 6 trays stacked on top of one another, and with all the electricity that you had from the motion of the ocean, you're using full spectrum lights to grow everything, because the sunshine won't reach everywhere. You know, even with that wall being completely glass, you need more light, right? And so then the only high-tech thing we have to buy is the full spectrum light, and eventually we'll learn to make those ourselves.
You know, I only have one comment about these square rooms on the boat. You know, that means you've got all these corners that evil spirits can live in. You know, I kind of prefer teepees or dome houses. Yeah.
Well,
but also have you checked out graphene as far as a building material? This is lightweight, stronger than steel.
After I talked to you last time, I spent an hour learning how to make graphene.
All right.
And it is something you can make at home, but in large quantities, like to build a life yacht or something like that out of, it is rather a daunting task. Until somebody is making it commercially in large quantities, that's not on top of my list of things to build with. But when someone is, and I can just buy a graphene factory, then yeah, that would be so cool. Another thing we're looking at is using rattan. Pardon?
Carl?
You know, of course, that the graphene is it could be a very big source of battery power for you, because they're really looking into using that in the context of supercaps. And as that technology starts to blossom a little bit more, I think you're going to see that starting to take over a bit of the battery market, because that's some pretty serious stuff right there.
I did not know that.
Yes,
yeah.
And if I don't know how you've been making it, but if you use the same process and thin it out just a wee bit, put it on a CD motor spindle, spin that sucker up, it winds up putting a very thin coat over the CD itself. You peel that off, and there you start building your plates. That's how people have been doing it so far. It's really neat, but the capacity is just truly outstanding. So on a little bit more massive or large scale, I see all kinds of great potential there.
Now, also Tesla automobiles, electric automobiles, which I think is really the future of our automobiles, because you can put a alternator on every wheel and have all the power that you need to recharge the battery while you're rolling down the highway. Tesla is supposedly building a super factory in New Mexico or Texas that, and they've just come out with, let me look at this here. They've just come out with a power pack, a power wall, I think they call it, to generate all your own electricity for your home. Exactly what we've talked about.
Wow. Look, the only limitation is our own imagination. And when we talk about the hulls, I know that circuit boards, for example, have multi-layers to them, or can have multi-layers to them. And I see no drawbacks to areas of the boat being designated as the battery /deck /supercapacitor that would be multifunctional. And if we really want to have some fun with it, we'll throw a little carpet on top of the damn thing and scuff our feet and create some static energy on the thing at the same time.
And we could wire up our cats so that when we pet the cat, the static electricity created. No, you're absolutely right. The multifunction that since we put the designs to bed and went on to other things, we've come up with more and more and more functions that we want to build in. For example, the top two decks should be separable from the catamaran hulls, so that if you have some kind of catastrophic damage to them, you can blast them away. The top two decks become a barge, basically. But at least you're not sinking, and you're moving under your own power, and all your systems are working.
I found this. I've got this up on my Facebook, somewhere down quite a ways on my Facebook page. Tesla unveils battery storage system for home, business, and utility use. Dubbed the Powerwall, Tesla has unveiled a home stationary battery that offers 10 kilowatts of storage capacity for the relatively modest price of $3,500.
2 kilowatts of storage? 2 kilowatt hours of storage?
10 kilowatt hours of storage capacity. Okay. And they've got a smaller unit also. Now that's the main thing. That's the main thing here. But kind of right above that, I've got a thing about again, they're using the name Tesla magnetic generator at Earth Sea Alliance Incorporated. And I say, is this a scam or is it real? If you try to get out and close the page, the price goes down to $3,700. Let me know if this is real. And it's TeslaMagneticGenerator.org. I've never seen one. I've never seen one working here. We're talking about it as a magnetic generator. They say it's easy to build, but nobody's ever built one or two and been able to show it to me. So I don't know if it's a scam or not, and I'm not putting some $3,700 in it. I don't have the capacity to build on that. I believe it's real. I believe it's possible because you can put a steel ball bearing in a squirrel cage and a wheel and put the a permanent magnet on the outside of the squirrel cage, and that cage will turn forever, and it's possible to generate power from that. So
you fell prey to another one of those scams on the internet. Really didn't happen, unless of course you saw this personally and witnessed it in operation.
I have not.
Tell me that you did that? Yeah. Okay.
I have not, and that's why I say, is it a scam? Yeah. I think it is a scam, but it doesn't mean that it's not possible. They built those magnetic generators in Australia. They were stackable, and then all of a sudden they disappeared entirely.
Well, I've tried probably, I don't know, building 100 different iterations, everything from parent dev down to atoms, coils, you name it, and never ever have I gotten really close to unity. I mean, sort of, but all I've ever done is gotten efficient, very efficient. But you know,
I think with the power of the ocean available, it's going to matter very little. I mean, the further away you get from the equator, the rougher the ocean is on any given day. Mm-hmm. So if you've simply got a pontoon in the water that's moving up and down, and that's cranking a generator for you, the question of over unity or free power is answered. It doesn't have to be over unity.
Yeah. Take advantage of whatever the environment provides. I mean,
and some of the things I've heard about, like the geek carburetor, where the men in black come and they tell you to stop building it. You know, I have no trouble believing that happened. And I say, guys, I've heard of enough of these where the inventor got disappeared because, you know, he didn't realize that he had stepped on the energy, on the powers that these pose. You know, why don't you, first of all, help us get our Freedom Fleet completely established and producing and getting life yachts in the water so that you can conduct your experiments far from their prying eyes, and you can build it wherever you want to build it, and then you show up in harbor one day with 1,000 of these things in your hold, you sell them, and you disappear before the men in black even know you were there. Now that's a plan, yeah, that's a plan that sounds to me like it has some chance of actually making a change in the way energy is made in this world. But as long as you're part of a society where they can find out what you're doing and where you live and come and visit you and say, hey, end your research, burn your notes, they're going to do that. There was
Absolutely.
and there was an over-Unity investigator, I forget his name, but I was following his webpage for several years back in the early zeros. And I think it was about 2005, 2006, I went back to check on his page, and I was checking, you know, like every 6 months or so, because he was doing real stuff and making real progress. And at the very least, he was learning how to build really efficient machines. Maybe not over Unity, but, you know, we can improve efficiency. So anyway, I get there one day, and the web page is, all the old information is gone. There's one page that says I have decided to end my research because last Tuesday I was driving along and I was pulled over by several black SUVs that surrounded me, and the men in black suits with black sunglasses showed me photos of my wife and kids going about their business, and they told me, end your research, burn your notes. So I'm doing that because I like my wife and kids a lot more than I like free electricity. And,
Yeah.
you know,
Well,
that's not something I heard.
There's ways. There are ways. You just have to take it in baby steps.
Yeah. Well,
Of that, I'm convinced.
And also, I don't want to give free energy to the psychopaths who run the world. So, you know, when I do invent it, or when I am producing the machine, I want to give it to people first who are conducting their society in a sane and righteous fashion. I want them to have everything first, and I want them.
You do know.
It's not.
You do know, of course. You do know, of course, that the powers that be, the men in black, have had and have been using these technologies for quite some time. The Navy, in particular, has hydrogen-powered ships that are known. And look, they don't want it in our hands because we will be taken off of the grid. If we're taken off of the grid, we're taken out of the financial structure of the society right now, and that's the only thing that keeps the pot lickers that are considered the elite in their style of living. So God knows we have to continue to be the good little slaves that we are. And in addition to that, we have to work part-time to break free. But we can.
That's true. We can. And as far as them having these machines, I think somebody's got them, and I think that they already exist. I don't think they're in general usage among that top group because they hate each other every bit as much as they hate us, and they fight and they're always jockeying for position. And having something like that working would be so powerful. They wouldn't take it to the club and say, hey guys, look what my engineers invented. Let me give you the plans. That's just not how they think. Mm-hmm. So I know these things exist already, but I'm not worried about seeing one. What I actually think is going to happen is they're going to continue trashing society to the point that when it collapses, these things will again be lost.
I'm in agreement with you on that. So
that's why, guys, I plan on putting Joshua's whole Seaborn Society. I plan on that being a chapter or two and strung out throughout the novels that I started writing 45 years ago. And because I don't think we can handle the truth, I'm just going to write fiction from now on.
Well, one of the Sea Lion's fleets, the 7th Fleet, is tasked with gathering and recording human knowledge in a durable fashion. Right now, everything's on discs, and that is not durable. If society were to crash violently, we would be back at roughly 14th century technology or lower. I mean, it's scary. And so one of the things that the 7th Fleet is planned for is to gather information and create basically the encyclopedia of human knowledge, only it'll be on polymer papers with polymer ink, such that even if you drop it in the water for 100 years, it's still perfectly legible when you pull it out. We have that paper and ink today, but leaving it on disk, I think, is just a really bad idea. And that's where it all is right now.
Well, and you know, one way or another, we're gonna have to break free of that, and it's gonna happen the easy way or the hard way, but it's gonna happen.
It's kind of always been that way. You know how hard it is to find an 8-track player today?
Yeah. It's rough. Yep. And really, I think the Neo-Vikings who live in remote areas and who have copies of this encyclopedia of human knowledge, and who are also engaged in mining and manufacture, they're making things. They are going to be the Ireland of this collapse. When Rome fell, St. Patrick had taught the Irish to read about 60, 70 years before, and the Irish went nuts over reading. They bought every book they could get their hands on, religious or not. And so when Rome fell, Ireland was basically one huge library. And then after Europe calmed down, it took about 100 years for the flames to die down. Then various monks from Ireland went back out across Europe and re-educated Europe, taught them all to read, established all the monasteries, and brought books. But if Ireland had not had all those books stashed away to begin with, the Dark Ages would have lasted however long, thousands of years longer? Who knows? But we're doing that on purpose this time. We're creating a repository of knowledge, because when society collapses, it is going to be ugly. And I don't really expect an extremely violent collapse brought about on purpose, but I do expect they're going to grind us down slowly. They're going to do the frog in the pot of hot water thing. And as that goes on, knowledge will decrease. There's just no way around it. And more people will be unable to repair the DVD drives, unable to manufacture them. More and more knowledge is just going to get lost. It's going to be inevitable because of the policies that they're putting in place. So we're going to gather it and record it on paper, or polymer that looks like paper. That's just one of the Sea Lions fleets.
Pardon me, gentlemen, but I'm trying to use technology to break a lifelong habit of smoking, so I'm finally biting the bullet, testing out the various vapor machines.
Okay.
Yeah. But the energy, it's all about you. Once we can get past that, we have it made. And on the boat, you have a stable platform. Anytime you've got a stable platform, you've got the ability to track a parabolic. So you can put a parabolic on there that may be able, maybe at the right time of day, incorporate a little bit of windage.
Yeah.
A little bit of windage, and also the focus of the sun to hit what would be normally an antenna.
Yes. And the largest life yacht has room aboard where you could put a small factory in there. I mean, without impinging on the living space. Yeah.
Didn't the Taiwanese build computers in a shed behind their cabins and behind their homes? I mean, we can individually with a little bit of knowledge here, we could build almost anything. We could build these magnetic generators. We could build solar panels. We could do all of that. And we've actually had the technology for over 100 years, thanks to Tesla, to solve all of the problems that we got today. And the only reason we've got the problems we got today is because J.P. Morgan couldn't figure out how to put a meter on free electricity.
Yeah, and that's why we are where we are, and we need to get away from that. It's entirely possible to build a floating island one piece at a time. Imagine a 20 by 20 by 20 concrete cube that's basically a big Lego block.
Right.
All right. If you make one of those. Are you
talking sparrow cement?
Yes.
How about hempcrete? We've got bridges made out of hempcrete that's been there for 500 years.
I definitely prefer hempcrete, but I don't want the. In this case, it's not the men in black; it's the men in green and blue and khaki coming down on me. I mean, you have to be very careful what you build and where you build it and who knows about it. All right,
now,
so we're starting with the sparrow cement.
One of the people that I have on my show is Larry Wood, and he has a coil that he builds, and he can build a magnetic generator too. But he won't do it here. He said, they'll just kill me here. I'm doing it in Indonesia, and Indonesia seems to be the place that we should be you should be looking at too. They don't.
That's a possibility, or the Philippines. I mean, there's lots of possibilities for when you want to really get exotic. When all we want to do is build ferroconcrete boats, we can do that anywhere and have no risk, no danger. All right. Then once you've got your ferroconcrete boat, then you can go take some dynamite up to Alaska or the west coast of Africa, and you can blast yourself a pirate cave that nobody can even see unless they're staring straight at it. And then you can put a whole civilization in there. I mean, Google Earth sometime. Turn on Google Earth and go down to look at Patagonia. Just look at all the amazing places that can only be reached by water.
Patagonia, where is that exactly?
That's in Chile, South America, on the west coast of South America. 2,000 air miles from Antarctica, and the average temperature there is quite warm, believe it or not.
Now, where are you at here? I'm getting a lot of noise in the background here.
Yeah, I'm getting like a radio show or something.
Like I say, I'm trying to make my way back to health. Just one more thing, and I'm gonna let you go. Where can I find out more about you and make contact? Because I'd love to talk to you about this.
Oh, freedomfleet.net, sealionsfoundation.com, terraformers.neoviking.com, neoviking.com. They're all linked up on Clay's site. Quick and easiest place to start is freedomfleet.net. That's got our email and phone number and everything on it.
Cool beans. I will check it out.
Okay.
Good to talk to you.
I will have you on tomorrow.
One other thing.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
One other thing. You know, of course, that a body in motion tends to stay in motion.
Yep.
And I had the dubious experience of watching a ferrocement sailboat try and come to dock one day.
Yeah, I lived on a ferrocement sailboat once. Yeah.
So you understand that no matter how slow you're going, once you get that thing going, it's going to stay in motion for quite some time.
Yeah, the big one weighs in at 350 tons, is according to the calculations we did when we got done. Yeah, that's a lot of rock. Yeah.
So the possibility of making this a self-bailing kind of structure that is going to never sink that ain't going to happen. They have a design is to be.
But now wait. But in the two hulls, the bottom, I think 7 feet of that hull is nothing but honeycombed multi-flotation compartments. So even if you hit a cargo container floating in the water, and it punches a hole straight through, you're only going to flood. You're going to take on 3 or 4 cubic meters of water. That's about it. I mean, really, and you can patch. Yeah, well, we're going to try to go easy on reefs. We need coral reefs. We like coral reefs.
Yeah.
And it's very shallow draft. This big 125-foot vessel, it's only going to draw about 5 feet because the hulls are so stinking wide. I mean, it's not going to do 8 miles an hour off a cliff.
No.
Yeah.
Oh man. And that's the only scary aspect I see this whole thing, and getting it out on the ocean because there's a storm coming. I see all kinds of very scary butt-fuckery kind of things happening.
Well, we've equipped it with we've designed it with twice the sail that it needs to reach top speed, so that you've got additional acceleration or towing capacity, right? And yes, when there's a storm coming, you do want to get out onto the sea. You do not want to be in harbor for that. Well, you don't want to be at a dock. I've been through storms on San Diego Harbor in my concrete sailboat, and even though we had 8-foot swells in the harbor, I was sitting there in the galley with a cup of coffee in front of me, watching to see if it was going to spill, and it never did. It's like sitting in a rocking chair. Yeah, a very violent rocking chair.
Well, you know, the standard way of riding out storms in a river is 4-point anchorage via rope. But with those kerosene boats, my God, that the weight alone precludes the use of ropes to anchor to moor these things. It's going to want to naturally just break free.
Yes.
Is there any kind of special bottom coating to prevent the fouling that would naturally occur with this type of craft?
No. And one of the reasons we're focusing on mass production is so that we can build a basically a machine that is exactly the shape of the hull, that has grinders on it, that I can just sweep it down the hull underneath, and it'll grind all the barnacles off, and it's shaped by, like, it's hard to describe, but just run through that once a year and your hull is clean. Barnacles don't grow very fast. But if you use something like
they're persistent.
I know. They're a fact of life, though. But if you use something like submarine anti-fouling paint, I'm going to have a problem with that, because that stuff is so poisonous that American submarine, any submarine that uses it leaves a trail of death in the water behind it. Yeah, absolutely. And there's copper paint, because barnacles don't like copper. That works pretty well. I've looked at a couple different possibilities for bottom fouling. One is an outer layer about an inch thick that is easily, well, not easily, but in dry dock, removable and replaceable. So you're constantly peeling off that outer.
In terms of saran wrap.
Yeah.
Saran wrap
like
for
that.
A boat. Just a
saran wrap for a boat. Yeah, or polyester, just a heavy polyester of the type used for greenhouses. You can do the whole boat in that. It costs, for a sailboat, it costs $700 haul out and drop in, and for less than that, you could cover the whole thing in polyester and just replace it once a year. And yes, it will tear, because sometimes you bump into stuff. So what? You're going to replace it in a year. If it tears up really bad, replace it more often, because your haul out is so expensive. That's the number you want to beat. Yeah. And then when we're building artificial, oh yeah, lived on one in San Diego Harbor. That was where I learned about ferroconcrete boats. When I'm negotiating to buy this boat, and I asked the lady, how often does the bilge pump cycle? And she says, what do you mean? I said, well, how much does it leak? She says, this boat doesn't leak. It's concrete. She reaches down and lifts up one of the deck boards, and it's like I'm looking at the floor of a garage. And I said, wow. And she only wanted a certain amount of money, and I turned it over without even arguing. She was asking way too little for that gemstone. Yeah, it was a joy. But yes, I have. That's what got me started on this. Yeah. And then when we're building floating islands,
that's the ins and outs.
Yeah.
You know the ins and outs. Then that's all I was getting at, because there are definitely pros and cons with a structure such as this. They're extremely permanent.
Yeah, the first one ever built is still afloat, according to my research. That was back in 1870s.
Yeah, the first one I ever saw is probably still sitting at the same dock to this day.
Probably.
Never
I know that.
Maiden voyage.
Some of them that were built during both World Wars. They were trying to figure out what to do with them after the war, and ended up they had to punch holes in them with dynamite or something. But then they sank them and used them as breakwaters or artificial reefs. Yeah, because these things float until you punch a hole in them. That's just all there is to it, and you have to punch a hole in it. It doesn't just wear out. Yeah, they are extremely permanent.
I can see benefits.
Well, I think also about the changes. Think about the changes to society that come about when, let's say, you decide you're going to ply the silk trade for a while. All right, so you got the wife and the kids and the house and the farm, and you go to India. Let's call that a 45-day sail from Los Angeles. All right. You load up on Indian silk at $5 a yard. You're going to take it back to Los Angeles and sell it for $12 a yard, because the retail there is $20, but you're going to be selling at wholesale. Okay? You just spent 3 months with your family all day, every day. You had time to homeschool your kids. You're making anything you want to make, because you got all the tools and materials and everything on board. You got factory floor space in those two bottom halls. That's what they're designed for, is for cargo or for factory floor space, right? You're living your life.
You literally have time to watch the paint dry.
Literally, yes. But you're sailing along with 40 or 50 other families who are similarly equipped, right? Mm-hmm. And it's an easy thing to leave, one of the teenage kids in charge, say, here, or take somebody else in tow for a couple hours, and everybody get together and have dinner. Social life is easy, right? You just got to have one person on watch in each vessel, so you're taking turns going to visit people, right? You've got, if you want to get kids together in groups for schooling, whoever is best suited to be the teacher, all the kids, they get in their little boats and they go over to that person's life yacht, and they have school in the morning, and then they come home at lunch or dinner. And it's just like we do it now, only way less expensive, and you don't have somebody else eating your time or your money. And while you do have to work for a livelihood, that's not the same as getting a job and working for a living. Very different. I mean, we have the
problem is the potential for inadvertent disaster when two of these structures begin heading ever so slowly in the same direction towards one another.
What, collisions?
Yeah. I mean, I've short of some serious bumpers. I don't know how you avoid any kind of disasters, even at 2 knots or 3 knots. My God, those things, they're just so massive.
Yeah, but properly built, I mean, you take collision into account when you're designing the structure. Like the outer rim around.
I would have no problem. Attempting to move from point A to point B with such a structure, but not without a high degree of nervousness and caution for sure.
And separation.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah, I mean when you see.
I'm stepped back on front to maneuver the Miami River in my 35-foot houseboat.
Yeah.
With twin Johnson 60s on the back of it. That kept breaking the sticking table every, I don't know, maybe 200 or 300 yards. So, one side of the river back to the other. But that's the fiberglass boat that could fend off those other boats.
That's true. Fiberglass has some great advantages. But it might not work for something like this. Although, you know, when we own our own oil well and polymer plant, then maybe we'll build them out of plastic like the architect wanted to. That'd be fine with me. Actually, where we want to get is hempcrete, so that 350 tons becomes 125. That's what we really want to build these things out of. All right, but to build any of them out of hempcrete, we have to build some of them out of concrete first, because to grow the hemp, what we're going to have to do is go to various coastal areas where nobody's paying attention. We'll go ashore, we'll plant the hemp seeds, and then we'll go away. And then we'll come back when it's mature and ready to harvest, and we'll come in at night, and we'll post watchmen, and we'll harvest it and get it all done as fast as possible and get the heck out of there with our hemp. That's what it will take to grow.
So that you can already see the benefits of that.
Some of my friends have been doing that for years.
Yeah.
Let me ask you guys. So we got both of you on here. We'll do more with Carl tomorrow. But what about this jade helm? Now there's a big controversy going on with veterans today. Gordon Duff says it ain't nothing, and we don't want, and I don't recommend preparing for war with ourselves. That's what they want, divide and conquer. That's what they tried to do, and trying to put us against our own army. Like Gordon says, a dozen SEALs aren't going to disarm a few million Texans. It ain't going to happen. And Texas now is, and even the governor is talking about this, is taking a look at this.
I heard he ordered the National Guard to supervise it.
He is asking, Greg Abbott, Texas governor, is asking the Texas State Guard to monitor odd federal military exercises dubbed Jade Helm 15. This gives further insight into why there have been odd situations happening at closed Walmart stores in Texas. There are serious questions on whether the government intends on cracking down on gun freedoms or the implementation of martial law. And these are what more than 200 residents asked a U.S. Army commander at rural Bastrop County without any real answers.
Well, how this plays out is going to be exactly how efficient those Yankees in D.C. are at actually planning an event of this magnitude. You have heard, of course, that ISIS is set up camp across the border, and people are making noises like, oh yeah, ISIS is going to be coming in and trying to take over towns. And curiously, these are the same areas that the federales are wanting to stage their little shows of force. Look, there is no reason, absolutely no reason for the federal government to be on state ground at all. They have plenty of facilities to do their testing on. The only reason for this is to be a psyop to get people ready for and how do I say this?
Absolutely, it's to condition people to be slaves.
Sure, that's what it's exactly what they did over in Iraq.
Here, don't mind those armored vehicles. Don't mind those guys with the AR-15 slung over their shoulder. They're on your side. They're good guys. Don't get upset about it. And
Yep, no business being here, period.
again, it's conditioning, not necessarily a threat at this point.
Yeah, at this point.
Now, we're talking about over 1,200 soldiers and 4 branches of the military are involved, according to U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel Mark Lastoria. And again,
if you've read anything by Laurie Anderson, you can have information that there's far more going on than that. There was talk of surgical strikes of some sort. Come on, guys. Yes, this is psyops. Yes, it's meant to terrorize. And I'm tired of being terrorized by the people that were actually paying to look out after us. You know, this is just making no sense whatsoever.
No, I agree. I'm right there with you.
Just fire them. All they are is a service company, and we can fire them and replace them at will. So I think it's time to do that. Let them take their debt right along with them as they exit the contract.
Texas, Utah, and parts of California are labeled hostile for the purpose of this 3-month training exercise. Now, I haven't heard much about Oklahoma. What about that, Joshua? Is Oklahoma in this?
Tough to say, because one of those closed Walmarts is right here in Tulsa at Admiral and Memorial. So what's going on with that?
Right, and if you move there, then of course they have reason to include that in the hostiles.
Yeah, and I mean that Walmart is making money, or it was, and there's no such thing as a plumbing problem that takes 6 months.
That's right.
I mean, they could completely gut that thing and replace the plumbing in that time. Well, actually, in about
stuff.
Okay.
Let me let you go. I appreciate the time to be on with you. I really wanted to hear what you had to say about the structure you're building and your ideas on energy, and I'll be taking a look at what you're doing, and maybe other minds can help. And
we'll talk to you more tomorrow, Carl. Thank you for stopping in.
Take care.
Forward to it. Thanks, Carl. Bye-bye.
You betcha. Bye-bye.
All right. Joshua, now, there was somebody up in Canada, I couldn't find his thing. He was talking about building structures, apartment buildings, or condominiums, or something like that, and making them entirely energy self-sufficient, whether he's talking about solar or wind, I don't know. And he says that's in progress now. I'm going to try to locate him and have him on the show later on this week.
Well, you need a combination of solar. You need a combination of solar and wind to be energy independent. Today at noon, I've got a conference call with the leadership of the Church of God in Christ is wanting to put together, I believe, 2,600 energy independent homes. I'm going to find out more about that. That is literally all I know at this point, but I'm going to be finding out more about it today. And one of the things I'm going to talk to them about is how important location is. You need to have some wind as well as sunshine, and it's even better if you've got a decent creek that you can run through some water wheels to make electricity, right? But yeah, you need a combination. You don't want to put all your eggs in one energy basket.
Now, what about the woman in Florida that got off the grid and they condemned her house? They tried to lock her out of her house. I'm not sure what...
She proves my point, that if you stay in the system and try to be separate and independent from it, they'll come get you. But if you'll leave the system, I mean, physically get out of their jurisdiction, which is what we're offering with Lifeyachts, then you got a chance to actually make it work. On this entire planet, there are not 4,000 naval vessels. Actually, the number is about 3,200. It's dropped by about 300 in the last several years. All right. So if there are, let's say, 20,000 families living in life yachts, right? There aren't enough naval vessels in the world to go out there and object, because one of them would have to pull over one ship, pull up alongside and order it to heave to, right? They can only do one of you at a time while everybody else is sailing away, and they'd have to find you first. I mean, if you disappear into somewhere like the Amazon, our design for these vessels and the training that we'll put you through is such that you could disappear into the Amazon with 4 or 5 other families, and 20 years later come out of the Amazon with 15 or 20 life yachts that you built while you were in there, because while you were at the Freedom Fleet, you learned how to do it. And they can be just as big and just as powerful, have just as much room and all the capacity of the ones that you sailed in there with, because they're designed to be made out of natural materials. And like I said, there's no computers on board. There's no need for computers. There's not even a need for an engine, because we know how to make wing sails, which are so powerful, and they retract into the hull, so you can actually determine exactly how much thrust you're applying to your vessel just by how tall you make the sail. But you'll be outside their system, so when they say, hey, you're not allowed to be off the grid, you say, oh, hey, you know what? I got a friend in Russia calling me. I need to go see what he's doing. I'll talk to you when I get back. Bye. And off you go. And you can arm these things. Now, we didn't put anything about weapons up on our website, but simple fact of the matter is, anything this big can mount serious weaponry. So if somebody tries to tell you you're not allowed to live off the grid, you can strenuously object.
Well, let me get your take on what is happening with Russia. Matter of fact, I've got a video here that I'll play some other time about Project Prophecy, where a gentleman hired by the CIA to talk about this, he said, forget Iran, Iraq, and the Ukraine. This is where World War III starts. And he's talking about the United States. But Russia, the powers that be, and their media is trying to demonize Russia and Putin again, just like they did with the whole Russians are coming, the Russians are coming to start the Cold War.
Yeah, they did that all during the Cold War, and it was really just, it was silly then and it's silly now, because the Russians are not an imperialistic or expansion-minded people. They haven't even filled their own land yet. They don't want anybody else's. Pure and simple. The Russians, the average Russian's attitude toward the rest of the world is, would you people please just quit screwing with us? If you want to buy stuff from us or sell stuff to us, great, let's do business, but don't come in here and mess with, our country, how we run things, how we do things. We like it our way. Leave us the hell alone. But they don't go try to conquer other countries and take over stuff. Even Ivan the Terrible, whose name is properly translated Ivan the Awesome, all he did was establish Russia's boundaries and tell all the neighboring states that were coming in there and raiding and stealing livestock and children and women and everything, he put a stop to it. So Russia is not a threat, has never been a threat, will probably never be a threat.
Only when the Bolsheviks took over, when the Jews took over, when the Khazarians took over and expanded their whole, rip off the traders, rip off the caravans, then it was a threat. And they're the ones that are looking to re-energize the whole Ukrainian situation, which is really Ukraine and Georgia were the old Khazaria, wasn't it?
Yep, that's right where it was. The eastern half of Ukraine, eastern third, which oddly enough, right now, that's the group that's in rebellion. That's where Khazaria started there and went down into the Caucasus. I think it covered about half the Caucasus. Yeah. It just the Russian people themselves, they're not interested in conquering anybody. It's only when you get these Edomites, Khazarians, the Khazarian mafia, in there controlling things, that you start having trouble. And we're gonna, I believe in the next 70, 80 years, sometime the next 70, 80 years, we're gonna see a worldwide revolt against the Khazarians, and they're going to be hunted down to the last man and killed. That's been prophesied in the book of Obadiah in the Bible. It didn't say it was going to happen now. It just said it was going to happen. I'm the one who thinks it's going to happen in the next 70, 80 years or sooner.
Well, they have been doing this for the last 100 years. They've really been... before they murdered the Tsar, Russia was one of our best friends.
Yep. And the Russian people in general are they're good people. They're very smart. They're industrious. Under the Tsars, they had some problems, but as an inward and kind of backward-looking people, they're not really interested in getting out into the rest of the world. We would expect them to solve their internal problems a little more slowly, just because they're not looking at how other people are doing it. In Germany or Holland, they solve internal problems faster because they can't help but see how the other guys are dealing with that problem, and they've all got the same problems. But if Holland solves a problem, Germany's going to see how they did it, right? But if Germany solves a problem, Russia isn't looking. They're not going to see how Germany solved that problem. So they're going to stumble around a little longer. It takes longer to solve whatever problems. And one of the problems they had under the Tsars was because it was a feudal system and they had serfdom, and when they ended serfdom, they didn't push hard on education that was designed to help the serfs really lay hold of their new role in Russia. They had basically a lot of surplus people and all the problems that go with that. Okay? That seems to not be the case now. Matter of fact, their population has been cut dramatically. I don't know what it was in 1902, but I'm sure it wasn't the 140 million it is now. It was way higher than that.
Now, is it possible, this is what I have projected, that after Russia and China being under communism for 100 years, and of course we've been under communism for 100 years, and the media just never told us about that. But every plank on the Communist Manifesto has been intact in America ever since we got the Federal Reserve here in 1913. And is it possible that the Russians and the Chinese just simply got fed up with this, and maybe they are more aware and maybe even freer than we are right now, because they are forming the whole BRICS coalition? That's Brazil and Russia and China, to have an alternative to the International Monetary Fund and the Federal Reserve. What about that? What do you know about that?
Well, I know the Rothschilds control the BRICS central bank, so they're not really getting away from them. What it looks to me like is the same old play where they create two false opposites and say, hey, everybody, you need to get excited about this side or that side, like Republican versus Democrat. You all need to get in on one of these, when neither one of them is good or right.
Two wings of the same bird, and the bird's a global vulture. It ain't an eagle.
Yeah, yeah, and that's my take on the BRICS Bank. I think it's a ploy, and there's lots of ways to handle money, to create money, to say this is money, that's not money. Having a central bank or even a mint is simply the first way anybody thought of, and it puts the people in power in total control of society. The king simply says, I've put my image on these coins, and this is the only thing I will accept in taxes. So you need to get some without committing a crime in the process. You're going to earn it, you're going to do business for it, whatever you're going to do. Okay. And then everybody has to do, and he can put whatever restrictions he wants on business that people perform in order to get these coins. Right? That's the very first form of social control by a leader ever invented, was coining money. Now, if we say, like at the Freedom Fleet, we're going to use time as money, right? When, let's say I've got 3,000 hours on the books toward my life yacht, and I see that, you've got books for sale that you've written, right? I say, hey, I want to buy one of your books. How much are they? You say, well, $10. Well, I don't have any actual money. What else you got? You can say, well, take 10 minutes off your books that you've got toward your life yacht and put it on mine. So I'm 10 minutes closer to having my life yacht. Well, okay. And so I'll just make that transfer, and then you give me a book, and I just paid for your book with my time. The book that took you time to write, I paid for with my time. Because in the final analysis, what money represents is your time. Time is the one kind of capital that everybody has a certain amount. You can never get more. It is the commodity that everybody gets more of every day, but when it's gone, it's gone. In a 70-year lifespan, if I remember right, you have something like 400,000 waking hours. That's it. When they're gone, they're gone. Gone. Okay. But if you use money to do business, at the Freedom Fleet, you'll go down to the commissary and you say, hey, I want to do ice cream float. Okay, ice cream floats cost 30 seconds. So, I swipe my card, and 30 seconds is removed from my time record and paid into the account of the people that are running the commissary. And I earned that 30 seconds by getting up in the morning and going down to the barn and milking the cows. And then from there, I went and had breakfast, which I paid for with my little swipe card. And then I went and, because when I put in 2 hours taking care of the cows at the barn, I earned 2 hours, right? So then I go have breakfast, and then I go and I work on life yachts all day. We're actually building there at the Freedom Fleet. That's what we do. Okay, so I earned, let's say, 6 more hours doing that during the day. Right? So I've got all this time on my books, and that's what I'm going to pay for stuff with. And when I get close to having my life yacht ready, when I'm about ready to pick it up, I'm going to want to buy furniture for it. I can't build furniture for diddly, but there'll be people there who do, and they'll build some very nice furniture, and they're working toward their life yacht, and I'll say, okay, look, this dresser that you made, I'll buy the dresser, that's 85 hours, and this beautiful king-size bed, okay, that's 120 hours. What's the difference between earning money at $50 an hour and then spending the money and just keeping the record at the time? Nothing. There's no difference. And yes, the dresser that I'm going to pay 85 hours for, it only took them 10 hours to build it. Yes, they're making a profit. Who cares? Well, actually, we all care. We want people to make profits. We want this to go well. Yeah. So I just brought all this up to say the current banking system and the current economic system is merely one way of doing things. It isn't the way of doing things. It's just a way. And we will find better ways, but whether we do or not, people are getting so sick of the bankers that I think we're going to see a revolt pretty soon. What they're doing is beyond criminal. I mean, just beyond it.
Well, that obviously this whole Jade Helm thing is it reflects exactly what I filmed in the first Homeland Security meeting over 10 years ago. You know, we're going in for a long war, and it's going to be longer than the Cold War, and it's going to be fought in the United States on our territory now, and the enemy's weak. That's because the enemy they're talking about is us, the American people. And we are in a revolt. We are in a revolt. I mean, I'm not going along with this whole... No, I'm not going to stand on a Walmart parking lot to get a vaccination for smallpox that's been eradicated in this country for 100 years. You know, I'm not going to have somebody give me an injection that could be Ebola or worse.
Yeah. How do you know what's in there? And there have been more than one occasion where things were found in the vaccines that absolutely just should not have been there and that could only have been put there on purpose. There's no accidental way to get the HIV in the what is it, the hemophiliacs take, factor K or something? Yeah. There's no way that can be an accident. And yet it happened to, 800,000 doses, I think, where they're just giving AIDS to hemophiliacs.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm, I may be soon more or less where you are on your driver's license. Only at that point, I don't think I'm going to stop driving. I think I'm just going to start carrying a gun. And when somebody stops me and says, Mr. Daniels, put your hands on the car, that's going to be the last few days of my life right there, because I'm going to say no. Because there's a legal situation where the judge lied to me, and if I can get him to fix it, great. It's a small thing. It's a traffic ticket, okay? But if I can't get him to fix it, I don't think I'm just going to accept it. Because you don't have the right to lie to me and then extort money from me based on that. I think that is, it's like, yeah, that is worth fighting to the death over. Now, I probably will just find it somehow and pay it, okay? Because I got more important stuff to do than fight with them over who's right and who's wrong. And I've been extorted my entire life. That's what taxes are. Yeah. But still, it's a possibility. I mean, if I was where you are with the insurance, good Lord, I don't know how bad it would get. Because I've been without a car before. That's amazingly painful. You can't live without a car in this country. It's not built for it. Never been without a license, though. So I don't know what would happen. But I know that they've cheated you. They've committed a felony against you, violating your right to due process.
Yeah, I've got to file a writ of mandamus, so I'm going to be doing that, and I've got people that'll be helping me structure that.
Okay.
Because, I mean, the ticket that they tried to charge me $1,600 for was not, it was not right. I had insurance in.
Yeah, it was bogus. Yeah.
And I can prove it. So,
wow. Yeah, I've been, sheesh. Yeah, I've been down that road on insurance. Only, I was leaving the country for a while, and I got the ticket, and I said to a friend here, would you take this insurance card down there and show it to them? And they'll dismiss it for $5 court cost. And I had left with him a bunch of money to handle some other stuff, and so I was heading out of the country. He didn't do it. He calls him up and says, hey, my buddy got this ticket. He wants me to come pay it. What do I do? And it's unbelievable how stupid this guy was. after the fact, after I had been given a ticket for no insurance because I didn't have the card with me, he bought me more insurance with my money, right? Went down and just paid the ticket and pled me guilty, which got my insurance suspended. So when I came back, I got a suspension. I've got all this money wasted on insurance I didn't need. I've got, at the time, you couldn't even get your license reinstated here in Tulsa. I had to take a Greyhound bus down to Oklahoma City. God, what an ordeal that was. And pay the, $75 or whatever it was reinstatement fee. I mean, it's just a nightmare because this stupid idiot wouldn't just follow instructions and ended up, putting me in insurance hell. So I know kind of what you're going through there and how expensive it can be. Yeah, but it's, at some point, it's time to say, no, not only do you not have the right to do this to me, you have no right to tell me that I have to stay off the road while you figure it out. And if you try to take me off the road, I know that you're going to be committing a felony against me with a weapon on your person, and I'm not going to let you. I mean, that's just where we're going to end up. We're already seeing in New York City, black men are walking up to cops in cars and killing them. This has happened 4 times in the last few months, where they just walk up to a cop sitting in a car, pull out a gun, and plug him.
What state are these in? Where's this happening?
New York City.
Well, again, it's set us again. They want you to be afraid of the police. They want the police to be afraid of you. They want to set us against each other, and they're trying to. I think that's exactly what they're trying to do with Jade Helm.
Well, that may be, and well, unfortunately, my mom was wrong when she said it takes 2 to fight. It doesn't. It only takes 1. There have to be 2 people present, but one person can force a fight on you. And if they decide they're going to force a fight on us, there just may not be anything we can do.
Yeah, I don't want to have to fight you, but I damn sure will.
Yeah.
I think that
Yeah.
Charlie Daniels don't mean to steal some of his lines, but I agree
what
with
song was that in? God Bless America Again?
No, that's a beautiful song. I love that. I love that.
Yeah. But, yeah, they might be able to force a fight on us if that's what they really want to do. And I'd hate it, but, guys, if you're looking for a fight, I've got one you can have. I'm a generous fella. I'll give it to you. I want to. But if that's where we end up, I mean, if I can't, get this thing fixed with the judge, get him to do things, do what he said he was going to do, I don't know. I do know that rather than do any of that crap, I'd rather just leave Oklahoma, leave the country. I won't be in Oklahoma long anyway, but just get out and to wherever we're going to put the Freedom Fleet. At this point, it looks like the Philippines, but it could be elsewhere on the inland waterway system. And just get busy on that.
I would suggest that you check out Corpus Christi in Texas or Beaumont, Houston, Galveston area. Another great plot.
Yeah, that whole area down there is a prime target for us. Yeah. And, honestly, it's going to be the members who who do the fundraising and bring in the money who vote on where we put it. And they get a vote for every dollar they bring in. Because if they did the work of supporting the project, they should have say in how it goes, right? So if we got somebody who brought in, $100,000 and someone else brought in $90,000 and everybody else brought in $1,000 each, well, somebody has 100 more votes than anybody else. And if they say, well, I think we should do it in Costa Rica, Yeah. If the situation in Costa Rica is right, you know, I mean, they can't just put it anywhere. Okay, but if the situation's right, and that's where the majority of people want to do it, that's where we're going to do it. This is not a dictatorship. Yeah. And then again, while we're actually there, when there's a dispute or a problem, okay, you're not going to come running down to the office and tell on somebody. We'll form a jury, and they'll sort it out. They'll hear the testimony, you know, so-and-so stole my hammer, or whatever the problem is. Okay, we'll form a jury. They'll investigate. They'll issue a search warrant if they really think that the hammer might be in a certain place, or not. You know, we'll be teaching people how to work as an omniarchy, where everyone has total responsibility and total authority over their life.
Yeah, let's explain that. That's one of the websites that you've got. I've got all the websites listed, but
it's one of the planks of our platform. We took the forms of government that have worked in the past, and actually they're not even forms of government. They're just forms of dispute resolution and coordinated action. All right, you can have all the benefits of a government without forming a government. It works like this. First of all, you're going to teach all the kids. Here are the things that are expected of you to be part of society. You're going to teach them these different roles. And the roles are sheriff. They have to be able to, you know, make an arrest, okay, or serve a search warrant, right? The juror, they have to be able to sit on a jury and understand, you know, here's what we're going to vote for, and here's how our law works, okay? And they're going to decide guilt or innocence. The jury's also, in an omniarchy, they take the place of judges, where you would go to a judge for a search warrant, say, here's why I believe this stolen property is in this house. You'd go to a jury and say, here's why I believe this stolen property is in this house, and then they would issue a warrant, right? So the jury serve the roles of judges. Another role that you're going to prepare kids for is counselor. They're going to sit on a council and listen to an issue and investigate an issue and then set some kind of policy, whether that's a traffic regulation or you know, a building code or something like that. And you're going to teach kids, let's see, we did the sheriff, the juror, the counselor, clerk. By recording facts, you establish rights. If it's written down somewhere that somebody owns this car, then when it turns up in the wrong place and in the wrong hands, you can identify, well, no, this car was bought by this person on this date. Show us where you bought it. Well, I lost the receipt. Well, too bad. You know, who wrote it down for you? There should be a copy of the receipt somewhere. Well, I don't remember who the clerk was. Yeah, it sounds like a stolen car to me. So clerking is important. And the last role that a society needs is the soldier. Right? So by the time kids get out of high school, they're deputized as sheriffs. So when they see a crime, they don't need to call the cops. They need to get out their handcuffs and their baton and make an arrest. Right? They're ready to sit on a court and listen to, you know, judge guilt or innocence. They're ready to record facts to establish rights. They're ready to sit on a council and decide issues, and they're ready to fight. Right? These are the 5 roles that society needs that are normally provided by government, but that's not the only way to do it. Right? And it's very important to not form a government because, well, for lots of reasons. Then we have a couple of rules in omniarchy as to how this works. Number 1, when you're sitting on a jury, or when we don't do jury selection. Right? When there's a problem and we're going to pull together a jury, we put the names of everybody within a certain distance in a hat, and we draw out a certain number of names. And then we have all those people list their family, relatives, and business interests. And if there's a conflict of interest between them and justice sitting on that jury, they get excluded. That's the only time we exclude somebody. Like, if my brother's on trial for murder, you don't want me on the jury. I got a conflict of interest, right? So that's the only reason we kick somebody, exclude somebody from a jury. Totally random. from the people within a certain area. Number two, once you've served on a council, you cannot serve on that council again until you've served on all the other councils. And council membership is just like a jury, it's completely random. When we get together once a year for high council, if we decide we need to form lesser councils, those are staffed by drawing names out of a hat. Okay? So if you're going to sit on the shipbuilding council and you're going to establish some safety standards for building ships, okay, it does the shipbuilders no good to come and try to get their candidate on that council, because they don't know. There's no way to know who it's going to be. There's no politicking. There's no decision. It's random. We draw the names out of a hat. Okay? And also, as an omniarchy, when you join the society, which is you actually join by signing a contract with them, all right? You're committing to spend a certain amount of time at High Council. You're going to come to High Council 3 years out of 5. You're going to vote on every issue, all right? And you're also committing to spend a certain amount of time in the military. And this will go on until you retire or die. Right? If you're disabled, you can have a sort of a limited participation, okay, where we're not going to force you to retire, all right? But maybe you don't want to serve in the military or can't serve in the military, or maybe, let's say, you're wheelchair bound. You would operate a radar console or fly a desk. Right? There's usually room for everybody who has their mental functions and at least some use of their hands. Okay, so that's omniarchy. There isn't time to go into the financial aspects, how we do the central bank and the money, but I'd love to do that on another show. But it's done in just as voluntary and egalitarian of a fashion. There's no taxes. You pay no taxes. What you do is you put in time. That's how the ancient Incas did it, and their empire lasted, 1,200 years, and it was destroyed through external.
I want to talk to you about that for a moment. We've I've said that the Incas and the Mayans probably had a more advanced civilization and certainly more advanced building techniques than even the Europeans at the same point in time. And they might have been a little, because they were so isolated up in the mountains, they never really expected the conquistadors. But the conquistadors destroyed a civilization more advanced than probably what we even have today. I know that can we build a pyramid today?
No, we cannot build a pyramid today like the Great Pyramid of Giza. No, we cannot. We could not make an exact copy. There's things they knew how to do that we don't. We cannot harden gold so that it will hold an edge and we can make a knife out of it. The Incas could do that. They could make gold knives. We can't do that. The earthquake-proof building that they did. Now, I'm not convinced that was Inca construction. That may have come before that. If you look at Steve Quayle's website, he's gathered a lot of information about what the Nephilim, the giants, are said to have done. And there's a lot of indications that those mountain stone fortresses might have been Nephilim work. Of course, the jury's still out on, how far the Nephilim spread and whether they actually did a lot of the stuff that's attributed to them. Or are they just, fictional characters from the Book of Genesis?
The Incas and the Mayans may have been the remnants of this global civilization that had flying saucers, that built the pyramids, that left navigational signs that you can only see from the air, and created the global maps like the Piri Reis map. It's and even Egypt just kind of sprang up out of nowhere, didn't it? Where did it come from?
Yeah, it did. With no developmental stages at all. It had a civil service. It had functioning markets and laws and everything, just bang, out of nowhere. And what that says to me is that somebody had records of how things were done before the flood, And as they had enough children that they started to need this stuff, they already knew exactly what to do. Yeah.
And you might want to go to shop.freeamerican and get the Lucifer screenplay that actually precedes, comes from a short story that I wrote 45 years ago, and is the forerunner of the book that we will do on Lucifer. Ain't exactly the Lucifer that you're taught about. It's and now we're going to tell you, we've only got a few minutes here left, Joshua. I got to do a commercial here, but I want to thank you for being on my show here. We just got a few minutes left here, and I got to do an ad for my Friday guest, Russell Papalardo. Check this out, and then we'll be here.
Hello, friends. This is RJ, the Mighty Phoenix. Friends, if you're a business owner and need capital to sustain or accentuate your business, and if you've been in business for 2 years or more, and your credit scores are low as 500, I can help you. Credit scores don't pay back with money that you borrow. Credit scores are only weapons being used against you in the war on small business. You pay back money that you borrow with business monies earned. So if you have 6 recent bank statements and your business is active, and as I said, you've been in business for over 2 years, I can get you money within 8 business days. Contact me at R as in Russell, J as in James, P as in Peter, P as in Peter again, A as in Arthur, P as in Peter again, A as in Arthur, at yahoo.com. That's RJPPAPA at yahoo.com. And if you're not in business and you need to earn extra cash and you don't want to go out and work for someone who's going to take advantage of you, or you don't want to spend the money to gas and get paid minimum wage, you can work with me, not for me, and earn big commissions. And all you need to do is place ads on the computer, on the internet, on Craigslist, on Backpage, on other sites, in the financial section. Only 15 minutes a day. Again, contact me at rjppapa@yahoo.com. Leave your cell phone number. I'll get back to you within 24 hours. And we'll discuss the issue. I can help you. Again, rjppapa@yahoo.com. Have a great day, folks.
All right. You know, there's one thing he says in that commercial that I really like. Work with me, not for me. And that's what I would like to see all of us doing. That's exactly what you're talking about, Joshua, when you're talking about working with the Sea Lions Foundation.
Yep. Yeah, it's totally cooperative. Even when we sell life yachts for money, which we'll do, we'll set aside 20% of the gross profit as profit sharing for the people who worked on it. And by selling some of our produce to bring in cash, then we can just increase our size, get more tools and materials and more room to work without having to do something like, float a loan or anything like that. We'll handle it all ourselves. We'll grow our food right there on property. So, first thing in the morning you get up and, maybe you signed up for a shift taking care of the dairy, so you get out of the barn and you milk the cows and operate the dairy and then go to breakfast.
Well, the basis of every civilization, according to my friend Richard Kelly Hoskins, is the self-sufficient family farm. And we could do that. That is a concept you could do in your neighborhood right now, in your backyard, and using your roof as a source of income and power. And you've got you might want to give out your connection again, because you do have solar units. You do make solar units, and you do have those for sale, don't you?
That's right. That is one of the ways. That's our commercial division. That's one of the ways we're raising money to do what we need to do. It's Sun Direct Power Incorporated. Sun-direct.net. Sun-direct.net. Solar-powered backup systems. Oh, Clay, I didn't send you a video of my windmill. I just got the windmill that I've been working on for a couple of years, working on the design. I got a prototype built, and this thing is amazing. I have exceeded my wildest expectations on this.
Send that to me now, and I will put it up under our show on my Facebook page.
All right, let's get this show wrapped up, and then I'll call you back, and we'll talk about that. Okay?
All right, we're done here.
All right.
God bless you.
All right.
Thank you, Joshua
God
Daniels.
bless you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Are you trying to tell me something, guys? I'm done. I'm done, darling. You so handsome. You're such a handsome boy. And your daddy's pretty nice, too. Your daddy's awfully nice, too. All right. Thanks, folks. Send a donation, Free American. FreeAmerican.com. Thanks. God bless you. Hope you enjoy the show.